Question right here.
Hi.
Can you rewind?
No.
Hey, not to be rude.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Patiently waiting to speak.
Go ahead.
All right, I'm sorry.
I'm here all night. I'm good. I'm good. You go.
You go, girl.
No, you got it.
I just want to make a comment. It's not really even a question. I own 213 West Main. I also occupy my property. My family owns 220 West Main, been in the family since the 80s. There are issues with our sidewalks. There are issues with the current trees. It breaks my heart. It actually makes me emotional because it's beautiful down there, and I love looking down Main Street and seeing the trees lying. But there are liabilities that are occurring. They're affecting property, they're affecting structural issues. We can't ignore that. It does put the city in a liability situation if we don't address it. It really, there's so many things that are so positive down there. It really, I mean, I'm even getting emotional talking about it, and I'm not really fruity like that. I feel that strongly about that part of Tomball. I love it. And it is. My daughter's there. My sister's there. My heart's there for sure. I really want us to see if we can come together and figure out some solutions. There is a way to make it work that is for the betterment. Safety-wise, I get it. I'm not a median kind of girl, but I definitely think the sidewalks need to be addressed. I hope that those powers that be will take everybody's opinions and comments into account. They matter. This town matters to a lot of people. It's our livelihood. Okay? That's all.
I'm a new business here. It's my first time calling them. Okay. So all I'm going to say is you're going to put a meeting right where my customers are going to go, so I'm freaking out. But what I want the council, like you're saying, to listen to, I don't know what business you have. I don't know your name. I'm on your team. I'm on your team. I like all of your ideas because when I think about Tomball, I think of iconic towns in Texas like Fredericksburg, and making Tomball something like that, where I understand the safety, got it. But like she said, if we could really think about things that enhance our customers' experience, our families' experience downtown. I don't think the median's the way to go. I think there are other ideas, making it slower down there, doing those hawk things. I mean, look at towns like Austin, like these towns that are similar to us. I feel like the idea of this is taking 2920, it's from here to here, is highway, and you are forgetting we're a destination. We're a town. You can't compare it. As a new business and someone who wants to be here a long time and make it through this construction, I really would like to see us go back to the drawing board of this area right here of Tomball to make it more of a destination, easier access for pedestrians. And I honestly don't care about the cars, I care about the people and us shopping around that area, how we make that good. What you do down there, don't care.
Well, and again, let me tag on to what you said.
You want to help businesses slow us down.
Well, and let me tag on to let's go back to what I said in the beginning. And that is that we have an arterial roadway, right? You remember that hierarchy of roadways? What you're asking for is a local street. One that people can walk along, stroll along, go shop to shop, be in that main street. That's kind of a local or a collector street. What we have is 2920 is an arterial. Hold on.
I guess I want to know, I hear everybody talking about their business and stuff, what is going to happen in front of the school down there? You go from 2 lanes, people picking up their children, and you're backed up, and I've seen cars pull out in front of other people because they're in the wrong lane. I've seen things that I don't like to see. So what's you guys plan for that area?
So let me finish up here. The
Say
median,
one thing first though.
Okay.
I understand what you're saying, that you guys gotta come through and you gotta do it, but you're coming through our neighborhood.
Right.
This was not a master plan community. I have a business on Main. I live 1 block off of Cherry Street. I don't want my business to fail, but I also don't want a bunch of people going down, millions of people going down Cherry Street. I'm in that first block, that's where I live, that's where my home is. I mean, I feel like we should slow it down from here, you know, slow it down. You wanna help our businesses? Make it, slow it down up there. People are gonna look.
so what I would like to see is people again that can get out of their car and walk down the street, okay? And they can do that safely and comfortably. Okay, I want to see them if they're walking down this street and say, oh, I want to go there.
So we need a hawk.
Well, except for hops would even go at ends. Okay, so how many people, what did I hear earlier? I'm just playing a little bit of devil's advocate here. I heard earlier that people will stop and let people cross mid-block, which isn't very safe because they're not stopping. 4 lanes of traffic. What I'm saying is a raised median provides a pedestrian refuge that's up where vehicles cannot traverse and hit them. It's a raised median.
I would like.
We have one right here. Right
I
here.
would like my question answered about the school.
No, we're trying to get to it, sir. He's been patient and good.
Actually, I have a question. I appreciate all the downtown discussion, and I'm anti-meeting if you want to go on that. I'm with you guys. I would like to move the conversation down a little further to the east. We have a business that's on Magnolia, which intersects, and the structure of the building is effectively, as I look at the plan view, which you haven't brought up, it is within distance. In other words, no eminent domain. Do I understand that correctly? Yes or no?
I don't know.
Okay, well, okay, eminent domain is a whole nother discussion, but for me, if you expand the road, put another lane in, and a sidewalk, based on the numbers I see, you're inside my building. So you're going to be taking the income-producing part of my building away from me. How are you guys going to address that?
So I can actually speak on that and Kyle can elaborate. So there's 2 phases, there's ways we can do it, and there, part of the plan did include damaging out some buildings because it got so close, because it's right there. The one that we're proposing does not damage any buildings. And so when you see some of these schematics, they'll have that ultimate width, and then there's one that the actual distance based on is not. And so when we talk about the eminent domain, what she's saying is that we need to acquire about some corner clips for turns at the intersections. But as far as buildings, there are no damaging out of buildings.
Okay, well then, let me
Someone
ask
said
this.
earlier that you would not be acquiring any more right of way.
That's what.
Corner clips. So it's just less than an acre for the whole thing is what we need in order to make
Other
those.
than that you're not acquiring
Correct.
anything.
Okay, and just to step one more, since while I trust you in the office and so forth, I would like to speak to the city engineer so that I can talk to him about the prints, that plan view, because that's the horse's mouth.
Yes,
That's who tells me,
absolutely.
we can do this, we can't do this due to distances. In other words, this is empirical evidence that you'd like to see.
So that is pretty close. We have survey data that TXDot provided us. They did through there, so it is pretty close. It's not the final design plans, but it's enough to be able to know what kind of things we're going to need, like damage out buildings or what kind of right of way we need. So if you want specifics for that track, absolutely, Kyle could be the one to tell you and zoom into it.
Is that Kyle?
Yes, yes, sir.
Hey, Kyle, I'm Bob. Hey, smile, Kyle.
Good. Councilman Townsend, did you have something? You were next.
I do. My name is Derek Townsend. For those of y'all that don't know me, I am a city councilman here. I've also been in the privy of government in my profession for about 38 years. Traffic signals was my business that I was involved in before I got, how do we say, retired because of COVID problems. Guys, we want our young people to come to this town. I'm 64, and there's a lot of people in here that are a lot older than I am. I can tell by the color of your hair. okay? But we want young people to come back and continue to revitalize our community. And in order to do that, we've got to have things to make them want to come here. And one of the things that this council has been doing since I've been involved is trying to bring downtown alive. Alleyways, concerts, the depot area, and it's becoming more and more successful by the efforts of everybody that works for our community and our city. I am but a voice of yours, okay? So I'm here to listen to what all y'all have to say. I have not made my mind up. I will tell you that I have publicly said I'm against medians. I will also tell you that in the last council meeting before last, I was the one that brought up the bull nose right there where you're talking about it. And I said, we got to be able to do something maybe with some in-ground LEDs or something not to affect our parade. I brought the parade up. So all these things that you guys are saying, we're hearing. But this money could go somewhere else. And as I tried to allude to earlier is, we've got problems in downtown with our utilities, our sidewalks, our trees causing problems. We got to get it fixed. And we can either try to shape this project a little bit and have the state fund the majority of that work where the taxpayers of Tomball aren't getting hit in our pocketbooks. Or we can tell TXDot to pound sand. And then it's all going to be on our backs. Every single bit of it.
Well, I think our question is, how do we shape it?
And I think that's the part of the deal is I was one of the ones who pressed this, and Councilman Quinn did not want us to vote on the last AWA, how do you say it? AFA, which is a agreement stating TXDot, we are interested in doing this project, but it was no money involved in that transfer whatsoever. It was simply telling these folks, we want to see what we can do to work with TXDot in order to make this project happen. Guys, y'all's businesses are the life of our town. We know that. We understand that.
Okay, as
So-
citizens, how do we shape that? I know you were talking about, you said y'all wanted
I
to
think-
sign
I think
it,
we
but
have
how
to-
do we shape it?
Okay, we have to get to the point where we can see what they are actually talking about doing and saying, no, we don't want that.
That's what
And that's what you're telling us, but you have to understand, they're not to the point of telling us this is what we have to choose from, or this is what we can do. This schematic here that they have now is a little bit further along than it has been. So, like I said, the bull nose, I said, we don't want that. It'll affect our parade. Guys at the parade, Bruce and a couple of other people said, oh, it won't affect our parade at all. But I said, I think it will. So anyway, but now we're at a point where you guys tell us what you don't want. And the medians, I understand. I don't want the medians. I was raised in Huntwick. Anybody know where Huntwick is? FM 1960. I went to Cyber High School, so I've been around this area for many, many years. I don't want what happened on FM 1960 to happen in Tomball, Texas in any way, shape, form, or fashion. And that's why you all can contact me. I'll give you my phone number. My cell phone number is 281-610-2183. That's my private cell. You're more than welcome to call me and talk to me. I'll meet with you and talk with you. Because I represent you guys. I'm not here to tell y'all what y'all want. Y'all here to tell us what you want. So, that's all I have to say.
Sorry.
My name's Mark Stoll. I'm a city councilman here in Tomball as well. And I just have a couple questions. First of all, for the state, is the main purpose of the median to try to get traffic to continue through and at some of these intersections that do not have lights to prevent people from turning left? Is that what the main purpose is?
The main purpose of the medians is to prevent the left turns at those cross streets and to provide pedestrian refuge.
Okay. Okay. Let me say that.
Well, and that has to be.
Okay. I'm not concerned about the pedestrian refuge because I don't think we have an issue with people crossing at the lights.
At mid-block, you mean?
At the lights.
Right, across the
But, yeah, and we can do crosswalks, we can do things like that. But my question is, have we ever considered at those intersections that do not have the lights, extending the sidewalk and the curb and gutter, where people can only go up to those streets and turn right, where they cannot turn left. And that way, we can eliminate the medians, traffic can still flow out, but it can only turn right, and traffic that's coming cannot turn left onto a non-street light area.
Well, it's the same thing I brought up a while back, it's making you can only turn north or south, depending on whether you're going east or west, and I brought that up several years ago.
I mean, I'm from a town where they did, and it worked.
Yeah.
Your engineer would need to look at that geometrically to see if that works and to see what kind of impacts to right-of-way, what kind of right-of-way would be needed to provide basically a right in, right out, but no through movement.
The right of way is ours. The right of way is the city, so we can vote on that. I'm just asking, has that ever been considered?
So again, let me see if I understand what you're asking. This cross street right here that proposes a median, you're saying make it so that when you're coming on North Walnut,
I'm saying at these intersections here, at Elm, Walnut, that do not have traffic signals, we extend the sidewalk out halfway into the intersection. So if people drive up, they can only turn right. Then traffic, if the median is eliminated, traffic that is coming from the opposite, on the other side, cannot turn left because there's not a turn lane for them to turn into.
It's not a southbound lane. It's only a southbound lane.
that would have to be looked at.
That's exactly what it is.
I couldn't hear you.
Village, that way, turn into the depot. Right there. You can't turn into the depot. That's where all the funds
He was saying there are a lot of cities that have implemented that kind of treatment.
I mean, it's not always blocked off.
Is there a contingency, so I'm from the Tomball Farmers Market, is there a contingency in place? We all don't like the medians, is there a contingency to get our patrons across the street safely at Elm and at Walnut? We see it happen every weekend, there's a problem at Walnut with people who are trying to get to our market safely. Have you guys considered a contingency to get people across safely? I understand the car issue, but we need to get people to, my goal is to get people to Commerce Street. I want people to be able to shop at our market and continue on the other side. Is there a contingency? Have you guys thought about that?
The only thing that Councilman Flynn brought up, and like I said, I was in the traffic signal business for many years. Matter of fact, I never really doing the design. Down and uptown. But the hawk signal is something that is very, very possible that could be used in this community. Very possibly could. The only problem we have is if you go over by the high school, they've got a crosswalk that they put in, I guess this last summer. And about 9 times out of 10, if you go there, it's flashing very erratically. So, and nobody's in the crosswalk. And I'm sitting here going, why do we even have a crosswalk that has that, that availability when people are, anyway. But the hawk systems are very viable. They really are.
Okay, well, I'm Jenny Eggleston. I own the building at 220 West Main, and so multiple things here. So one, before the turn lane went in on 2920, there were wrecks all of the time. Once the turn lane went in on 2920 to be able to turn on a protected turn onto Cherry Street, turning north and south, alleviated wrecks galore. I mean, it got down to, now it is so rare to have a wreck there. Literally one day I was in my office, which is upstairs, right below the corner post, before the turn lane went in, because all the traffic would stack up, then they'd come in, somebody's not paying attention, collide, and they ran into that column. I mean, I thought the building's about to fall down. After that turn lane went in, it was amazingly different. So now with the median, you're proposing to go and take out part of that turn lane. Yeah, you're saying, I'm going to give you some of this turn lane, but I'm going to take out a good majority of it. Now we're just talking about backing the traffic up again, and those wrecks will start to, happen again. So I'm all about keeping turn lanes, putting turn lanes in, and no medians. So let's see. Secondly, Mr. Townsend, thank you so much for recognizing that the current trees that we have, they are beautiful, they look gorgeous. If you are, just driving by, they look great. They wreak havoc on the sidewalks, and they also provide an avenue for water to get trapped underneath your foundation and create heaving that I've just now discovered is what the problem is in my building. So I have to say, if those trees that were and I believe they were donated to the city back in late 70s, early 80s, anyhow, were not installed properly, so there wasn't any type of barrier system, and so anyhow, as we know, how far do big oak tree roots go? They go to the drip line, and they find places to go, and allows water to follow them and create voids underground. So I have to say that I know there's a lot of people that would be so sad to see the change, but I think that if there was a tree option or a planter option that would be properly installed, I would absolutely be for that. Of course, and then thirdly, I am concerned myself. I'm either, some of y'all will not be happy to know, but I'm probably not going to publish another directory. I published the Tomball Magnolia directory with my sister, and my family has done it for 43 years, and the viability of doing that doesn't make sense any longer financially, but so I'm going to do something with the building. I'm either going to lease it out to someone or I'm going to sell it. So all of a sudden now, what's going to happen when you've got this property and it's all torn up? So what does that future look like? So I have concern there. The other concern that I have is along Cherry Street, and I know that it was mentioned that when the alleyway project happens that there will be some sidewalking that happens on Cherry Street. Is that true or not at this point?
Yes.
Right?
Around the whole block is trying to get that walkability.
Okay, yeah, because on Cherry Street right now, I see people, I mean, it's all gravelly, it's uneven, and, I see people stumbling and struggling along there, and of course, if you were in a wheelchair, just forget it. And so, I do think that that's a really, severe problem, but the sidewalks themselves are, actually dangerous, and then the other problem with the sidewalks is the tree roots push them up. It pushes all the concrete up and forces all the water back towards your building, and then the drainage is impacted because of all the trees. I have pictures if anybody would like to see, but literally after the rain on, what was that, Tuesday night, that came through Wednesday morning, and by the big drain that's out on 2920, all of the leaves, just this huge pile of leaves. And then as well, I just want to mention to the city that I've been weed eating my side of the parking lot, but nobody weed eats the alleyway anymore. So I didn't know if that was just, we've kind of given up on the alleyway maintenance until, the project happens. So anyway, that's all. Oh, quick question. So does the city own the trees? Does the city own the trees?
Well, we owned a business in the early 80s, right where your sister's business is today, and we bought those trees.
Okay, so
We paid for them.
So each
business,
individual
yes.
business owner owns?
Early 80s.
Okay, so the business owner bought the trees.
Right.
Okay, and then who owns the sidewalks?
The state does.
And so the state owns the
The
sidewalks.
state's right away is almost face of business to face of business.
Okay.
Like I said, your awning over your door is actually in our right of way.
So they could remove that.
The sidewalks were roads. When you say there's no right of way purchases, The sidewalks will still stay there, that's not gonna be taken as part of the road.
No, the sidewalks are gonna be replaced as well
But
and
there's not
widened,
gonna be sidewalks.
and widened and leveled.
When you said no right of way was gonna be needed, I wanted to make sure that wasn't being included as part of the road. The sidewalks were not.
The sidewalks are part of the roadway project. We're gonna let it all together, and we're gonna replace the sidewalks, right. The road footprint is basically gonna stay what it is, and the sidewalk footprint is gonna be widened.
Just wanted to make sure the nomenclature.
Right.
But to verify her question, even though the businesses may have purchased the trees, since they're in your right of way, the state actually owns the trees.
Yeah, because from my understanding, I can do nothing to the tree. I can't go take the tree out on my own.
So if a tree dies, the state will replace it?
No. My understanding was the trees were donated. I found an
No,
article
there were
that
trees
said they were.
there originally. They took them out to do something, and they asked the businesses at that time if we would buy the trees, and we bought a tree. Business bought them. My parents
That was in the pots.
that were in the pots. They later put them in the ground.
Oh, so that were in the, okay, but they
Yeah,
weren't
but there were
actually
trees
installed.
there originally, so we cut these trees once before.
The source of the trees, Bruce Hilligeist with the chamber, we had office together, and I asked him if he knew, obviously, he's Mr. Tomball, he kind of knows everything. I asked him where those trees came from, and he said that the Chamber of Commerce, previous, when it was Diane Holland as the president, the Chamber of Commerce had donated trees in pots, and their intent was to try and get them all the way down. They got planted, and obviously those planters aren't sufficient to help those trees grow to the best of their ability. But that's where, according to Bruce, the history of the trees came from.
Well, they may have bought some of them if the businesses refused to buy them.
And as far as the trees go, real quick too, TXDot and the arborist told me, and you can correct me, sir, if I'm wrong, they actually now have a box that they put down for the trees to reside in. Go ahead.
So it's a suspended pavement system. What that means is, right now, your sidewalk sits on dirt. Okay? What we would do, since utilities and everything else be replaced in this project underneath the sidewalks, while that's excavated, we would put in, it's not a box, it's more like columns of, I use the word box, so it's not a box. But imagine the chairs you're sitting on, it's kind of like that, okay? So that actually will hold up the sidewalk. We put in proper soil underneath your seat where the legs of your chair are, so the roots have a safe place to grow without upheaving the sidewalk. We would also install root barriers in front of the buildings or any other special things so the roots don't actually grow into the foundations, or if there's some type of inlet or storm sewer or sanitary sewer, whatever it is. So several people have said it correctly earlier. If we replace the sidewalks, replace the utilities and everything in that space, we'll go back and make sure the trees and everything that supports the trees get done correctly so the trees can grow the best they can without causing problems. Yes, ma'am?
What size trees are you gonna put back?
I think with that space and the utilities are there, I don't think we can tree spade anything in. I think probably the largest size that would be good would be like a 100-gallon container, which is like a 6-inch caliper, 6-inch diameter, 5 or 6-inch diameter tree.
And do you have an idea of what kind of trees you're gonna put back?
I'm going to let the city provide the design to us. We'll put in as many trees as the city wants us for there, and we'll use appropriate species that are available in the nursery and that work well in this space.
Right, Mayor, go ahead.
Okay, hello everybody, and I'm really glad that you're here, and as you've heard, a lot of people say that's the reason we're having this meeting, is because at the last council meeting, when it did come up about medians, but we gotta go forward in order so we know what we're talking about, and we know that we can get in those discussions, and so I really appreciate you coming, and I just wanted to say that quickly. After our last meeting, I got on the phone with the city manager and said, David, let's have a meeting. We met with a couple of the property owners and said, okay, what can we do? And let's expand this. Let's get as many businesses as we can. Let's get the residents. Let's get people who just love Tomball to find out what it is that y'all want. So again, I wanted to thank you for coming to the meeting.
Go ahead, sir.
I got one comment, and then a general question. So on the sidewalks, I've been on the sidewalks before and tried to eat, and I like the environment, I like the sidewalks. But it's not real safe. The traffic going by, if you try to sit there and talk on the phone, you really can't do it. It's uncomfortable with some of the drivers that are flying through there. So I was just kind of curious, and don't expect an answer, but for any of y'all that might be an Aggie, in College Station, they've got a concrete barrier that stops. You cannot get a car across it to where these people are. So I don't know if that's been considered, at least along these businesses, along the 4 blocks or whatever it is. Someone, just a general question, I don't expect an answer.
Ask your question again.
If I'm gonna be sitting in that sidewalk, drinking a cup of coffee, and I got cars flying by to the 6-inch curb between me and those cars, I really can't talk, can't have a conversation with somebody across the table from me at certain times of the day. So to me, it's not very safe. Yeah, the sidewalks need to be ripped up and replaced. But even after that's done and these things are cleaned up and traffic does move quicker through there, that's going to aggravate the situation. And Tomball is growing. There's going to be more traffic through here. I'd hate to have this project go in 5 or 10 years from now, you know, you don't want to be on these sidewalks. Everybody's on the alley because there's less traffic. And now the buildings all have to kind of turn around in front of the alley because it's just a better place to walk. That's exactly what's going to happen. All right, so that's one comment. And another one, I've been at numerous TXDot meetings for other projects, and so there's a lot of feedback. Great, that's what you're here for, but what's the outcome of this? Are we going to see, what's the next step? You know, I've been in the meetings where I like this idea, I put a dot on it. I like that idea, I put a green dot, things I like, red dot, things I don't like. Are we having that kind of process here, or are we all going to sit here and gripe? Some people are going to call a phone number, some people are going to send an email, and then what?
So I'm here at the request of Tomball to talk to you about the project. This isn't something that we formally did.
Well, then maybe my question is better posed for the city, maybe.
Well, and you're right. So when you go into a typical, to get public comment, TXDot, we've all been to those, you know, visioning things, and that was part of the background on this project, is that did happen.
How long ago? I'm sorry.
Back in when we did the livable centers, and we did the, so
14
yes.
years ago.
So is it worth it maybe to revisit that?
Yes.
Well, and I guess from my standpoint, obviously, I got my marching orders. Of course, I wasn't back then. Whenever everything was adopted and we're moving forward, if it changes, absolutely, that's the direction we're going to go. So your question is it going to change? I don't make that.
Agent, let me just jump in here. We're here loud and clear.
Correct.
I can assure you, this is top priority for us to figure this out and communicate it, give you feedback, and communicate the negotiation we're going to be in, right? To get this done. But we hear you. I think I could probably speak for council on that, right? We hear you.
I think it would not behoove anybody to have this meeting and walk away and say, well, we met, we got their feedback.
Correct. No, that wasn't the intent.
No, we're gonna get, I mean, I don't know how I would not get drawings and options and pros and cons and you know, basically debate those things and bring that to you guys and communicate that to you guys, because we gotta do that. We understand that.
If I may, just kind of piggyback on him. We have Junda Corporation here tonight answering questions free of charge. They do not have a contract with the city of Tomball. They've been doing work here for going on 7, 8 years on this very project, free, gratis to us. I'm going to ask you all a question. Would you have a problem with us getting in contract with these folks to pay them for their efforts to give us what you're talking about, Chad? Because I couldn't expect anybody, and I wouldn't expect any of y'all, if y'all were business owners in this business, to do it for free. So the question I have is, as a councilman, if we have it put on our agenda to go ahead and allow us to execute a contract so that we can have these things brought to us for us to look at and respond to y'all, is that something you approve of?
No. Can we have a workshop to see see the suggestions that the public is invited to before it is a council agenda item that we vote on.
I'm talking about just simply paying this man for his
Well,
business. That's all I'm asking for.
Kyle gives that to us here, the alternatives and with TXDot, that yes, we can do this, you can do what you're talking about on that turn, or we put in hops, or we put in turn signals, or whatever the alternatives are, to think outside the box and have 2 or 3 different suggestions with cost and if they can work. But that is what I think we need to give the feedback then to these people here, not just have it on an agenda item to vote on one of the 3.
I agree with you, but will you do my books for me for free and tell me what my options
I'm
are?
not
No, you can't do that.
questioning I just am questioning the process once he gives us the answers after we've paid this.
Okay, hey, wait. Guys, we do this every week in council. We get to yell at each other, so that's not the point tonight. The point is to hear from y'all, and that's exactly what we're gonna do. I guarantee nobody's gonna sign a check, blank check, and nobody's gonna sign contracts until we know what we're doing. But as Derek was saying, we have to be able to pay them to look at the alternatives.
They're getting paid to be in. Before we ask the people.
But we need to know what it's gonna be, so we can ask the people.
So just, and I think that will solve kind of the thing, and of course it's not perfect to me, but we can definitely put on an hourly contract to get those exhibits for those options, to do those, and that way we don't want to do that.
Yeah, this should not be complicated. This is, like, there is so much off the shelf that's been done all across the planet. You know, nobody has to invent anything brand new. There's plenty of transportation coolness happening all over the US that can happen right here, right off the shelf. You can Google it, hit enter, print it out.
Conceptual
options
right now.
Works great, plenty of studies, nobody's getting hurt. But definitely not, sir, excuse me, I'm sorry. But definitely, because you said something that was very interesting, is that, and I've seen this happen before, is creating this thoroughfare where it just becomes a speed trap, and everybody just wants to get through it. Well, no one's going to stop. And then it flips around, and it's all just alleys and so on and so forth. So
Let me make a
tremendous opportunities here.
Let me make a comment about TXDot doing this for free and this kind of stuff. And everything. They're paid for, TXDot is paid by our tax dollars from the state.
Sir,
and
he's not
it's
with
their
TXDot.
job to do that kind of stuff.
Sir, he's not with TXDot.
Let me finish talking. I'll let you talk. Let me talk. I spent 25 years working with municipalities in the water wastewater industry, and we do like they say. They come to us as a supplier. We give them all these bids and everything, and within my business, we call that practice bidding, because we didn't get paid to make that bid. We provided that information in hopes that maybe somewhere down the line we can get that job and everything. We call that practice bidding. It's their job to work with these states, with our roads and that kind of stuff. I do have to commend you on, you said you worked on 1960. And for me personally, I don't have an accessibility problem on 1960. I don't have a problem getting into the businesses on 1960. Why? Because they changed 1960, and I avoid that cotton picking road like the plague, and I'm taking my business to somewhere else.
I just want to make just a kind of an all-encompassing. So as a result of these meetings, which I have learned a lot, and I appreciate everyone here, but as a result of these meetings, how many times, or what is the percentage of times where TXDot actually modifies a proposal to accommodate the local community? Just, I know you don't have a number, but just in general, does it happen often, sometimes, seldom, a lot?
So I'll tell you, it happens with every project. Every project gets some type of modification as a result of the public input. Every project, you know, we have to respond to the local community, and your opinion and your time here is very valuable to us. And I don't charge you. You just pay my salary. I don't charge you. Kyle, on the other hand, works for a private engineering firm and is doing this work for Tomball. He's not working for us. And he's not, I mean, his firm is a contractor to us on other projects, but not this project. I'm a state employee, and therefore I am paid by your tax dollars, so thank you very much. I hope I'm representing them well and serving you. Kyle, on the other hand, is beholden to the owner of his company. And that's a private company that's just trying to make a living too. Every single project we do involves public involvement, and we take that public input and we make changes to our design. We create our design. We try to communicate to you through our public involvement process, you know, what our goals are for the corridors. You know, and then we take your input as resident experts that use that corridor every single day. And we ask you to talk about your needs for that corridor, and we try to strike the balance between the needs of the traveling public and the needs of the land adjacent to the roadway. And it's tough. It's tough. And as I said during my presentation earlier, these types of treatments are notoriously unpopular. You know, and we have made a lot of changes. All those implementation areas that I've talked about, we've already done it. We have absolutely made changes to every one of the designs as we've gone through the process. And so your time here is not wasted. You know, and your input is very valuable.
Before you finish, can I mention, that's one of the reasons why council really wanted to have the control over the design contract. Typically, or in a lot of cases, TXDot would be the one that takes the design component. That gives us control over how the road looks, how it functions as far as the design. So part of this is really just to give you guys an update on what this project is, but to move us forward to the next phase, it's really going to be a matter of a series of public meetings. Just like you said, those where you go and you stick. We did that back in 2007, 2008, but it's time to revisit that because there's been a lot of changes. You're right, we do have alternate thoroughfares now. Grand Parkway was a huge change for us. Medical complex, Brown Road, all of those things were kind of this comprehensive effort to help get us to this point. We have a huge opportunity here. $30 million project, drainage, utilities, sidewalks. We've got some challenges that we've got to work through, absolutely. But we've got an opportunity to transform this corridor. What I'd ask you to do is give us an opportunity to go back, revisit some of the things that we need to look at and update, and come back in a series of public meetings so that we come to an understanding of something that is going to function well for all of you, something that's going to function for those passing through, and make our town even more special. And that's why we're all here. We love this community. We want to see it grow and prosper, and we have an opportunity to do that. There's going to be growing pains and there's going to be some challenges, but if we can work through that together, I think at the end of the day, you're going to see a corridor that you're going to be proud of, and that you're going to be, you know, going, oh, we could have done this 10 years ago. I really think you're going to see a huge improvement along that corridor.
What would the speed limit, like what is it now, and what will it be?
Well, the speed limit right now, at least through the section, you know, downtown Main Street is 30 miles an hour. I would assume that it would stay 30 miles an hour.
Yeah. We have a lot of like children shop at their parents and they shop fast. But I know
I'm not trying to speed them through. I want vehicles that want to go through to be able to get through efficiently. But I also want to, like I started out saying, I also want the people that want to be there and shop there and work there, I want them to be able to get out and from a pedestrian standpoint and an access standpoint to the business, I want them to be able to move about freely as well. You know, and so we're trying to achieve two objectives here. One is the mobility of this corridor that's 32 miles and connects to interstates. And the other is this downtown that has these needs of these businesses and these, you know, that needs pedestrians to walk into their businesses and to walk back and forth
Can
through
we buy
them.
our street?
And so that is the objective that we're trying to do.
take
We
away
want
from
some
the state.
throughput, but mainly we want people that are coming there to be able to get out of their vehicle and walk and traverse and patronize safely and in a way that feels not only it feels safe, it is safe, but it's also comfortable and it's inviting. The experience is there. They feel that experience. That's why we did the Livable Center study, and that's what we heard from the businesses at the time. They wanted that sense of place, that Old Town Tomball historic charm. They wanted people to feel invited to come and to feel comfortable moving about and patronizing and, you know, dining and doing these other things. And so some of the treatments that you see here are to accommodate that. In fact, most of the treatments that you've seen here are to accommodate that part of the project.
I just want to say, I also have property in Galveston, so I am on the seawall all the time. They have a whole lot more traffic than Tomball does. They do not have a median, they have hawks.
Right.
The pedestrian hawks. So in that scope of it all, if what you're trying to say for Tomball, you know, would work, why didn't you do it in Galveston? Because it doesn't work, and it kills those small businesses that you can't turn into any longer, that you can't turn down onto any longer. So the hawks are much, I think, are a lot more inviting to pedestrians because I can cross at Walmart or I can cross at Elm. Myself personally, I don't jaywalk. I walk down to Cherry and I come around. I live on Foster, which is 3 blocks off of the main road. So I walked all the way from my house to the German Fest because I don't park. What's the point? I'm going to walk. That is a much better idea than these medians that people are going to stand in and, I don't know, it just doesn't make sense to me.
I hear you.
And I live here, in Old Tomball.
So I just want to say that anyone who knows Doris Spears, she's not going to be happy with me, but we just added an agenda item on Monday night's meeting for council to give direction to city staff on what we want to do in the next step. Okay?
Awesome.
All right.
Great.
Next week.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to say, I'm of a different opinion. I think the city needs some better sidewalks and walkability. You can't walk down the sidewalks and without watching every step you take, because you're going to trip and just fall on your face. I think it's going to bring more business to the city. I think it's because of all the other areas that you've enhanced to get parking, that people are going to park instead of wanting to turn around in the middle of Main Street, make a left, which is ridiculous to go to a business. I'm going to park somewhere else where you have public parking. But my question is, so you've done these enhancements and you did them after the plan was already set. And what this gentleman had said about where the railroad crossing is and on Elm, North Elm, there's some really great parking for events. I don't see a lot of access to get to that parking here on this plan. I was wondering, is that because the parking was done after the plan, the enhancement of the parking, or no?
It was, when the Livable Centers plan was done, the parking master plan that's in there identified several potential areas. Potential meaning there was either potentially, current development there, or it was just a vacant lot. So it looked at several areas. Along that railroad track was one of them. I think if you look back at the Livable Center study and the access management study, it did show opening into that area. And so I think that's something that we all need to revisit, especially with that intersection. There has been, comments, I think, from different, entities saying, hey, if you extend that median up and you avoid that, you've got the railroad crossing, it makes a whole lot of sense. The fluidity of that for all of us, I agree. It's problematic. So areas like that, I think we definitely need to look at the hawk idea. I think that's a fantastic idea. So to me, the next step would be for us to kind of look back at some of the suggestions, reevaluate that, and be able to come in a public meeting with some options.
thank you for being so nice and being here tonight to explain this to us. You've taken a lot of abuse. I don't think
I love these kind of meetings. I'm energized by them. Everyone needs to know I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight because my mind's going to be churning. I love these meetings.
I want to say, I was against the trees being cut down and putting little bitty 6-inch trees in. I understand why they need to go down. So, you know, I accept that that needs to happen. I love our trees. It's part of what makes Tomball beautiful. I think 6-inch trees are unacceptable. I think they need to be a little bit bigger because the renditions that you're showing us, you're not going to see those for 20 years. I mean, 6-inch trees.
12-inch trees can be supplied without a spade, no problem. We do it every day, so.
The trees that have been planted were planted 30 years ago, and they should be 42.
So, and those are definitely design details that we can look at, what the options are at the time. Thank you for your comments. The truth is, when we come out to these public meetings, we know that we're not going to get everybody to agree. What we hope you leave here with is a better understanding about why we're wanting to make these improvements, a commitment to continue working with us, to talk about what the improvements are in your community, and you know, just know that we have your best interest at heart too. We're interested in your businesses. Oh, sorry, I talk with my hands. I do, I'm sorry. So thank you all so much for being here.
Before y'all leave, I wanted to let you know on the city's website, under the Community Development Department, there is a FF 2920 webpage that's been set up. They're going to compile all the questions and the meeting notes. That will all be added on there. So that will be the main resource for this process as far as local connection.